everybody, Anthony Alfredo here, and today I'm at my desk in front of my Logitech G wheel and pedal set, but we're going to look through the iRacing sporting code because we're going to talk about some of the details in here that a lot of people overlook that help clarify how safety rating and iRating actually work. So we're on iRacing's website looking at the sporting code, and we're going to dive right into this. First, we're going to go check out the actual driver skill rating. That's going to be your iRating area and license class. As many of you know, obviously the event has to be official for you to actually gain or lose iRating. And depending on how many people sign up for an event, there will actually be multiple splits, and you will be in whatever split iRacing determines you be in based on your current iRating. So you might be in a higher split or a lower split, and that might determine how much iRating you can potentially gain. Because if you're the first in the second split, it's going to be hard to gain a lot of iRating without running super well or maybe getting a podium. If you're really low on the totem pole in a much higher split, maybe a top split race, you don't have to perform as well to necessarily gain, but there's obviously a weight that kind of determines how much you will gain or lose. When you're put into a split, the goal is to be matched up with other drivers of a similar iRating or skill level. You could see that in the race splits description, and it might not even be split depending on how many people sign up for the event, but usually you do have multiple splits, equal field sizes, but it'll definitely set you in a split based on your current iRating so that you have as fair a level or as level of a playing field as possible. So it's critical you know that if a race doesn't go official because there aren't enough people in the event, safety rating still counts even though iRating does not. So you still want to run clean races, which is obviously critical to promoting your license class and moving up. As you rank up, you also have to meet your minimum participation requirement, the MPR, which is usually 4 races. So sometimes you run 4 of those races, but you still don't get promoted until you've actually hit 4.0 iRating, round that whole number. So if you're at 3.98 and you're a B class, and you've completed your 4 minimum participation requirement events, then you still probably need to run another one, have a clean race. Maybe you gain 0.12 SR in running a B fixed race at Texas Motor Speedway on oval, and that'll bump you up because you do get a bonus of 0.4 SR every whole number. So if you go from 1.89 to 2.1, you'll get an additional 0.4 for jumping that whole number, so you'll be at 2.5. That'll happen every time you go up or down a whole number. So if you're 3.2 and you lose 0.25 safety rating in an event, then you'll be down to 2.95 SR minus the additional 0.4, which would put you at 2.75 SR. So it's critical to know that variation, especially on week 13, because at the end of week 13, if you're not above a 2.0 safety rating, you will get demoted or promoted. So if you're at that 4.0 or almost at that 4.0 bubble, you met your MPR, you might get promoted a license class if you're not already A class. But if you're A class, B class, and lower, whichever class it may be, if you're below a 2.0 SR, you'll actually get demoted and lose that 0.4 SR. One of the most important things to know that a lot of people don't realize is that once the event or race session actually starts, safety rating is counting in both practice and qualifying, not just the race. However, the weights are different depending on whether it's an open or lone session. So if it's open practice with other cars on track, safety rating incidents are counting for half of what they normally would in a race. And if it's a lone practice or lone qualifying session like single car qualifying, then it's actually 0.35, so it's a smaller weight. But if there's other cars on track, or if it's an open qualifying session, it's 0.5. So you can see that in this table right here, that practice alone or qualifying alone is 0.35 SR counting in incidents. But if it's an open practice or open qualifying, it's actually 0.5. So it's half. The incident weight will always be 100% for heat races and the actual feature races in whatever event you're competing in. But it's important to remember those practice and qualifying count. They don't in the open practice or qualifying before the race session begins, but they do once the actual race session begins during your 3 or 5 minute practice, warm up, or qualifying as well. This is why a lot of people wonder why they have a perfectly clean session, no incidents in practice, qualifying, or the race, and maybe they gain 0.2 SR. But the next one, maybe they have an off track or a loss of control during their qualifying lap or even in practice, and they don't quite gain that 0.2 again. They gain 0.18 or whatever that weight equates to. And they're like, I had a 0x in the race, no incidents. How did I not gain safety rating? Well, it's because of those incidents during practice. When you are actually promoted a license class, you'll lose about 1 whole safety rating because iRacing wants to give you the opportunity to improve on that even more before being promoted again. Once you're A class as well, it doesn't just go to 4.0, it actually goes to 4.99, just so that when you are in the highest license class, there's still opportunity for you to improve your safety rating and become a cleaner racer. As I said earlier, if you're between 2.0 and 2.99 safety rating, you will actually be demoted at the end of the season, which is week 13. If you're above 3.0, you'll actually automatically be promoted a license class. That only applies for the end of each season. If you're competing in the middle of the season and your safety rating drops below 1.0 SR, that's when you get demoted. And if you get to 4.0 SR, that's when you get promoted. So as we always discuss, iRating is your driver skill level or your performance measure, whereas safety rating solely determines your license class. Your performance or skill does not determine your license class, just your safety rating does. So you could ride around in the back every race and have clean races, meet your MPR, and get all the way to A class. But I do highly recommend you go out there and compete and get better, learn from others, make mistakes and learn from them to get better, because when you do get to A class, if you just go ahead and start racing A class, it's going to be quite the challenge, and it's better to kind of learn as you go. I think the divisions in the series are actually laid out in a proper ladder for you to climb as you get more experience. Last but certainly not least, the corner and incident multipliers are what determines the safety rating you can gain or lose in an event. So obviously oval racing, you usually would gain less or lose less than on a road course because there's less corners, right? Well, iRacing actually has a corner and incident multiplier. So each track has its own measure. Short track ovals and big track ovals have different multipliers. The bigger tracks are larger multipliers, the short tracks are smaller. And then on road courses, they also have that. Some road courses have equal amount of corners, but depending on the layout, iRacing actually has the discretion to determine the multiplier, and those are set to specified amounts, but that explains why you might run 2 road courses with 14 turns, have a totally incident-free session, but gain more or less safety rating in either of those 2 sessions. So that's important to remember. It's not solely based just on the amount of corners on that track, but the track size, it's whatever scale the actual multiplier is set to for that specific track. Hopefully you guys found today's video valuable. It's definitely important for you to check out the iRacing sporting code. There's really not that much to it. You can just kind of skim through at the very least just to have a better idea of what iRacing expects of you, what you can expect of the service, and how you could be better. I appreciate you all tuning in. I hope you found this beneficial and that you learned something today. I know I did by looking through this because there was a couple things that I didn't even know and a couple details that were really important actually for me to become a better sim racer. That'll be it for today, and I'll talk to you all later. Bye.